Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. It's me, it's Big Man Backer. It's 1 hour of pure, unadulterated FPL chat. Big Man, how are you, mate? There's so much going on in FPL at the moment.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Johnny. Hello and welcome to all the listeners and viewers. Lots to discuss, lots to unravel. Is Gabriel going to play? Is Haaland going to play? Is KDB going to play? Lots to unpack in the next hour or so.
Yes, I can't wait to react to some of the news in the next hour as well, because we know we're going to get a couple more press conferences, including Jurgen Klopp. I wonder if Jurgen Klopp press conferences, annoyingly, are now going to be all focused on his future and questions about him. And I'm like, ask about Salah. I want to know a little bit more about Mo Salah, because there are still a lot of us that are likely selling Mo Salah this week. But if Klopp says his recovery's going well, or we get a hint that he's going to be back sooner rather than later, maybe that changes everything. What are the big sort of dilemmas for your team this week, Big Man? Because mine are centered around Gabriel. If he's not starting, I need my fourth defender is Lascelles. Like, I need to buy a defender. And then my other big decision is, do I sell Salah and buy De Bruyne, or do I roll? And captaincy I've got already. I've got sorted. I'm going Foden captain.
My big dilemma this week is captaincy. It's actually the opposite to yours, because my starting 11 is pretty settled. I mean, I did have a few benching dilemmas, but I've sort of gotten them out of the way before the deadline. And my whole sort of focus for the next 3 to 4 hours will be deciding who to captain. I was fairly bullish on Alvarez the last time we spoke, but now that if we get a leak that Haaland is starting, then of course I won't go there. Yeah. And it's sort of dwindling, because my faith wasn't as strong as it usually is when it comes to captaincy, and I'm sort of wondering whether to move him on to Richarlison or Foden. Ideally, I want to have a City captainer, but I'm really not sure about the expected minutes. So that's where I'm at.
You own the 3 big guns for captaincy this week in terms of popularity. Yeah. You've got Foden. Is that right? Yeah. You got Foden.
I mean, I'm getting him. I'm buying him. I don't have him right now, but I'll be buying him almost certainly. Yeah. So I will have Foden.
And you've got Richarlison and you've got Alvarez. They're the 3 that most are considering. There will be some out there that are buying Haaland or De Bruyne this week, and they might captain him. Guys, let us know in the poll if you are bringing Haaland in off the back of Pep's news. So in the last half an hour, Pep has said that Haaland is ready. He'll feature, but I don't think he'll be featuring from the start. Like, if I was a betting man, I would say I'm 90% sure he starts on the bench tomorrow.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. But there's others that will go, I think it's more 50-50, and therefore I'm going to take the punt. And even if he doesn't, 20 minutes against Burnley is still a big, big scoreline, potentially, for Haaland. But for me, nothing I've seen today makes me want to buy Haaland this week. I can wait till 23. Are you the same?
Exactly. I mean, I'll have to take a hit to get him in. Unless we get a confirmed league before the deadline that he's starting, I don't think I'll be buying him. I'm pretty set on just having enough funds to get him in for Alvarez next week. I think Alvarez is on borrowed time now. With the big guns coming back, I'm not really sure about his expected minutes going forward. And I'm just hoping I can just sort of get 1 week out of him. I'm actually more curious to hear your thoughts on De Bruyne, because I have a feeling that he's going to start.
Yeah, I do. I mean, ideally, I wanted him to start against Spurs. I wanted him to get 45, 60 minutes And I think I'd be a little bit more optimistic. But there's others that are saying, no, it's good that he didn't start against Spurs. Now he's more likely to start against Burnley. I'm just like, maybe he's a little bit slower in his recovery than I had hoped. But we can't forget that Spurs game was 5 days. It was a Friday night. They play Wednesday. 5 days between the two. I think Pep has spoken about De Bruyne coming on late in that game and being able to play in a kind of a sort of clutch player that can come on and win you a game. And he wanted that option up his sleeve as a substitute to ease De Bruyne in slowly to a easier fixture at home against lesser opponent would probably make sense. Let De Bruyne do De Bruyne things and have a free roll and get him back on the grass. And Burnley is the perfect fixture for that. Others will say, you don't need to risk him because it's only Burnley. We can beat him without De Bruyne. But I think I'm going with the former, and I think he gets 60. And that's why I'm so tempted to buy him. If I am making a transfer this game week, it's almost certainly Salah to De Bruyne. I've just not figured out if I'm making that transfer or rolling yet. But that's pretty much the only move I'll make unless Gabriel's out.
Will you captain De Bruyne in that case?
No, I am set on Foden captain. If I bring De Bruyne in, I'm still going to captain Foden because it's just a minute's play.
Yeah, I'm personally not looking at De Bruyne. Even let's say if we hear news that he's starting, I just don't think he's worth going until he proves his fitness. I mean, sure, there's a chance that I might triple up on the Man City attack by game week 25 for the double, but right now I'm not convinced whether he's going to start this week, tomorrow, and then again on the weekend against Brentford. Because we haven't seen him start 2 back-to-back games in a while, so I'm happy to just wait. But for those of you who are more maverick than I am, then I can see some upside for it, especially given the fixture. If he starts the Burnley fixture, I can see that being a rout. City will win 4 or 5 5-0. I think it's just one of those fixtures.
They always win.
It's all set for it. It's all set for it. The big boys are coming back. City are in form, and Burnley are there for the taking. So I can sense a big haul. That's why I really want to captain a City player, but with the sort of risk with Alvarez, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do.
It's a tough one for you. I think Alvarez clearly has that appeal over Foden with the respect of penalties. If you look at big chances in the last couple of games, Alvarez has had really good data. But you just go, Alvarez is going to get 70 minutes. Foden could very easily get 90. And then you consider the actual output recently, and Foden's been matching him. So I think if I own the two, I would be going Foden again and purely as a minutes play. And with the De Bruyne thing, one thing that did put me off De Bruyne originally was it's a midweek round of fixtures. They play again in game week 23. If De Bruyne does start, who's to say he doesn't go and get 30 against Brentford? But then looking at the schedule, I'm like, City play Brentford on Monday. So again, the fixture list has been kind to Haaland buyers, to De Bruyne buyers. It's a Wednesday night game, and then Monday again. There's 5 days between fixtures. I think if we see De Bruyne start and get 60, he's getting 60 again against Brentford, or maybe more. Again, Haaland, there's enough time between 2 fixtures for him to play good minutes in both. The more I talk about De Bruyne, the more I want him.
Has Pep had the press conference already?
Yeah. And he said that Haaland's available.
It was scheduled to be at 1:30 UK, which is why I ask. I mean, has that come out of a press conference, or where has that come out from? That's basically why I'm asking.
Yeah, because we saw all the quotes knocking around, didn't we? And it's like, is that because he's spoken to written journos first? But it does look like, I'm pretty sure Sky have uploaded the video of Pep speaking, and that those quotes have actually been taken.
Maybe it was scheduled before time.
I think he spoke at 12:30 because Sky Sports News added the video clip 27 minutes ago, which was, so I think he spoke an hour earlier than we thought.
Yeah.
And he said Haaland will be selected for the first time. He's back.
I mean, let's assume even if he was to, hold a press conference later, I just don't think that he'll give anything more away. This is the max we're going to hear, irrespective. I mean, unless we hear something from the team leakers, which we're always dependent on. But I think with this information, I'm almost certainly not getting Haaland. Whether or not I captain Alvarez, I'm not sure. I'm still 60-40 leaning towards doing it, but it's sort of, my confidence is decreasing by the hour.
Yeah, I'm just looking at @Alex_MCFC's quote, who is a bit of a Man City predictor. He's not in the know, but he's a very good predictor. He said, the way Pep phrased the update, it sounded like the physios have cleared Haaland for selection. He was asked if there needs to be any integration, pointed out the difference between, this is Pep, the De Bruyne injury and the Haaland injury was, one was muscular, De Bruyne, one was a fracture, Haaland. But he did say it still needs to be step by step. And I do wonder if that's kind of him just going, yeah, like, let's not get too excited. He's been out for 6 weeks. It needs to be step by step, i.e., he needs to be eased in. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Haaland get 0 minutes despite being on the bench, or 20 or 30. But I don't think we'll get much more than that.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be 15, 20 minutes at best, personally. That's what I think. And Pep has a history of easing players back from injury. I don't think he'll rush Haaland in straight away. I'd be massively surprised if that was to be the case. And the fixture is there. It's appealing.
He did the other week. I remember I was surprised. De Bruyne and Doku were both back fit. De Bruyne was benched. Doku started on his first game back. But again, I think Doku's injury was muscular again, but only perhaps out 3-4 weeks. But his first game back, he was straight in at the start, which I was really surprised about. But you're right. He does usually ease his players back in. And look at De Bruyne. He's been training with the first team since the Club World Cup. Now, that was a month ago. And only now do we think he's going to have his first start. I guess we should talk about De Bruyne. Do you think he starts, big man? Are you thinking De Bruyne 60 minutes versus Burnley?
You're putting me on the spot here, but yes, I think he does. I think he will.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I think he will. And where do you expect Foden to play in that case? You think he plays on the right?
I do. But when Foden plays on the right, he often, in this system, because of Walker's threat down the right-hand side, he's a bit like Cole Palmer. It's kind of an inverted right position, and he's still relatively central. Like against... in the FA Cup at the weekend, when De Bruyne came on, Foden went out to the right. Foden wasn't hugging the touchline. He wasn't like they are on the left, whether it's Doku or Bob or Grealish. He's still relatively central and still very high. Foden's average position map in the FA Cup was really, really good. Even though he played half an hour out on the right-hand side, his overall average position was still bang central, and it was just off Alvarez up top. I think I'm all right about the weight because of Kyle Walker.
Let's talk captaincy at this point. So you assume that Foden will start on the right, and when you think he's got good attacking threat to get some points in that position, fair enough. Okay, so we're assuming Haaland is on the bench.
Yeah,
probably gets 20 minutes. Who do you think who comes off for him? I think it's probably going to be De Bruyne. I think Alvarez moves 10.
Yeah. Possible.
I think Alvarez moves 10. Haaland goes striker, which is why the scaremongering over Alvarez might be a bit over the top. That's the only thing which is still sort of got me on Alvarez captain, is because I genuinely think that there's a chance that Haaland comes on for KDB, because I don't think KDB is fit enough to play 90 minutes. Surely KDB will come off early.
I think he will. But is there a world in which, let's say, it's a double substitution and Haaland comes off? Haaland comes on. Alvarez and De Bruyne both come off because Alvarez isn't playing as well as Foden, let's say. So Foden gets the 90. He moves to the number 10 position. And Haaland comes on up front. And then he brings on one of his wide men. Bob comes on. Doku comes on. Grealish comes on, and whoever's on the left goes to the right.
I think the more concerning scenario for me, if I was to captain Alvarez, is that if Alvarez and Foden start, if De Bruyne is on the bench, if Haaland is on the bench, then Alvarez will almost certainly get subbed early.
Yeah.
So that's the guessing game that you're playing here. I think De Bruyne starting could actually be good for Alvarez's minutes, to be very honest.
I hear you there. I think it
See
will
the
come
logic?
down. I get it. I definitely get that. But at the same time, I'm like, if we look at early subs recently, Foden doesn't get them and Alvarez does. Yeah. And I wonder, with Grealish back fit, Doku back fit, Pepper said he's got a fully fit squad. So even Akanji's back. Don't know about John Stones. But all those attacking spots.
Yeah, apparently all the first teamers were training. So if
so rare,
Stones is training. Yeah,
that's
it's so very rare from Manchester City.
And I just wonder if he goes, yeah, look, I'm rewarding Bob for last time out and he gets a sub appearance. Or we have seen a world in which Doku can play either side, or Bob can come and play on the right-hand side. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Foden go playing really well, gets to play number 10 when Alvarez goes off and a wide man comes on. Don't know. It's a tough one. But I do
It
think
is
I
bloody
do
tough.
understand why you would go De Bruyne starting is good for Alvarez minutes, because we know De Bruyne is not playing 90. But I still think Foden over Alvarez for minutes is still, no matter who starts, who doesn't around them, I still back Foden for more minutes than Alvarez.
I I'm not entirely sure I agree with that, but it's a guessing game and it could go either way. If I
Yeah.
was totally convinced that Foden would get more minutes than Alvarez, then I think I would probably captain Foden. And that's sort of where we differ, because you're looking at Foden as a captaincy choice and I'm buying him this week, but I'm not confident enough to captain him. Especially when you're going to get 60, 65, 70 minutes out of Alvarez playing number 9, uh, potentially on set pieces and on penalties, right?
Yep.
So that's the thing.
I guess KDB not starting is good for Alvarez with regards to set pieces, but that's the only And look, I think we had a question a second ago about why would he play Haaland and De Bruyne against Burnley? Like Dylan saying we could, Pep doesn't need him. It's a good fixture to ease them in, to get confidence, to get goals, to get perhaps not a really intense game for them, because City will have so much of the ball. I think we had a comment from, what was the last comment? Kieran, is there a world in which Foden starts on the bench? Possibly, but in the Premier League this season, I think he started once on the bench. It would be a bit of an anomaly, but of course it's possible. It's Pep. And Freddie saying, I wouldn't captain any City player. No guarantee anyone definitely starts. I mean, you could say that about any player at any point, but Foden has started all but one Premier League games. I don't know what the guy's got to do. He's also been City's best player over the last 6 weeks. He has had player of the match in more than half of City's games. Jota, Richarlison, there's players out there too.
Let's touch on Richarlison.
Yeah.
How do you see the Spurs Brentford game going?
Well, we've got a graphic actually on some of the Salah replacements, and Richarlison's on there. So let's show that graphic, because when we look at best Salah replacements, Richarlison's in the mix alongside Jota. And these numbers, big man, they're really good. Like, it's from Fancyopedia, this graphic. Check them out on Twitter. But when we look at the XG per 90, 0.64 there for Richarlison, it's higher than even Jota. Now, sure, Jota overperforms his, and you can see column 1 shows the overperformance for Jota. Richarlison's around par. But the numbers are there. Big chances per 90, good shots on target per 90, 1.38 shots on target per game. Like, Richarlison, the number 9 for an attacking team. But I think Brentford defence are all right. I know they've been bad as of late in terms of output, because Flecken's been rubbish. But it's not a gimme, that fixture. Like, Brentford could go and get a result. Like, we know Man City are winning that football match. We think Liverpool are going to score a couple of goals. We think Spurs will score a couple of goals, but there's no guarantee there. With Man City, it feels like there's a guarantee.
It's just the classic argument of having a bigger ceiling. So the ceiling is clearly there from Manchester City. I do think Spurs will score once, or I mean, with Maddison back, I'll actually fancy him to score twice. But Brentford will give them a game, and I think it's that kind of game where we'll see plenty of goals, probably a 2-2. Brentford will give Spurs a game, and generally they do tend to do well against the top clubs.
Yeah.
So it sort of just makes me think that Richarlison, I fancy him for a goal. You just posted his numbers. We can see that on the graphic on the screen. You look at the big chances per 90. I mean, 1.03 big chances per 90 is insane. That's amazing. And he's going to get minutes. He's probably going to get in excess of 80, 85 minutes. Outside chance of penalties in Maddison's absence. Let's say if Maddison isn't on the field, then he could be on penalties.
Agree.
I think he should be safe for 7, 8, 9 points, somewhere around that region.
If I owned Richarlison, Foden, and Alvarez, and I'm very envious of you to own all 3 this week, I would have a real debate over Foden versus Richarlison for captaincy. Like, I would rule out Alvarez because of the minutes, as I mentioned. But if I own Richarlison, there's a very good chance I'll be captaining him this week. I'm not, and I've not thought about it because I don't own him. And is he a buy for me this week? The only reason I'm not buying him this week is game week 26. No fixture. I'll probably end up buying him in 27. Who knows?
26, and because Jota has emerged, right? So anyone who's in the market for a midfielder, let's say if you still have Son or Salah and you're looking to replace them, then you probably buy Jota over Charlison because of the extra fixture in 25. Because even though both Liverpool and Spurs are likely to blank in 26, uh, you get the extra fixture out of Jota.
Yeah, Gucci owns all three. Shout out Gucci in Australia. He says he owns all three and he's captain in Darwin. Brilliant. He is a Liverpool fan though, Gucci. So fair play. Like, I don't think that's a bad call. If we're ranking them,
I, I'd
these
like
three,
I
go on.
I'd like to hear more comments on in the chat regarding captaincy. Where would you go if you own all three? Because this it's a real dilemma. Sort of, I'm glad I don't have any dilemma with my transfers or with my starting 11 this week. I've sort of made my bed with it. I've made peace with it. But captaincy is going to go right down to the wire, and I just hope I end up on the right side of variance.
Taufik is captaining Jota. Matthew's going with Charlison. Guys, we'll do a captaincy poll. Jota, Darwin, Richarlison, Foden, Alvarez. I don't know how many we can do, but we'll do a poll. We can put an other in there as well. Okay. Rank your top three from this list then. If we're selling Salah, firstly, big man, is Salah a definite sell? Because I was like kind of hoping that I could keep him, but I just don't think it's a good use of funds, knowing in game week 25 they've got a double game week, but the Carabao Cup is so close just off the back of that. If he's back, and that's still an if, then could his minutes be managed? And is Jota and Darwin good enough replacements and cover Salah points? Well, probably. So I think he probably is a sell, isn't he?
I think he's a sell, Johnny. I mean, if a 13 million player sitting on the bench with no conclusive date of his return, it's just not the right thing to do. I mean, unless we hear something extraordinary from Klopp in the next 20 30 minutes when Liverpool are supposed to have their press conference, I just don't think he's worth keeping, because there's every chance that with hamstring injuries he's not back for game week 24 25. Even if he's back in game week 25, there's no guarantee he plays both fixtures. When you look at the schedule, they're scheduled to play the Carabao Cup final 3 days after the Luton fixture, which is at home. So there's a chance where he gets his minutes managed, just because he's coming on the back of an injury. If I was more convinced of his minutes, then I think that I would be more bullish on keeping him. But I'm sort of leaning towards selling him, simply because A, I'm not convinced about his fitness, B, his price, and C, because I sort of think it is much easier to navigate game week 25, 26 with having just one premium in the squad. And with Trent in the picture as well, I think having one of Salah or Haaland is enough. And with the information we have available right now, it looks like that guy's going to be Haaland, because he's more of a triple captaincy shout in 25 than Salah.
Yeah, I think it's a great argument for that, mate. Your top three replacements then, from this list, mine would be number 1, Foden, 2, Jota, 3, Richarlison. What order would you go, top three?
Yeah, it would be the same for me. Foden over Jota because of the fixture this week, and because Foden doesn't blank in 26. And because I also prefer getting Foden over Jota because of the security that you have with Foden, that he will start. With Jota, you're not sure. Let's say if Salah's back before schedule, then could Jota become a minute's risk? It could happen. I mean, it's not something which is beyond the realms of possibility. It could happen. Let's say, because I'm not totally convinced that with Salah back, because Nunes and Darwin is almost certainly has played himself into Klopp's first 11. So Darwin is going to play, Salah is going to play. It's going to be one of Diaz or Jota, and I'm not 100% fully convinced that it's going to be Jota when Salah is back, which is why I sort of want to give myself a couple of weeks. And in a couple of weeks, Liverpool are playing Burnley at home in game week 24. Then Jota can come in before game week 24 if we think that Salah's not going to be back anytime soon, and if Jota keeps up his form, then he's an easy buy in 24. With Chelsea away this week, and then Chelsea at home this week, and then Arsenal away next week, I don't necessarily think that Jota is someone who screams must buy to me right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we talk about entry points, and for Jota, the problem with me this week was the entry point. Like I am put off by 2 tough fixtures, and I think Liverpool will score in both those games, and they could have big hauls in them both. But I'm just backing the odds and the easy fixtures, and the entry point for Liverpool players is game week 24. It's Burnley. And then it's a
Exactly.
double, we hope a double too. We've done a captaincy poll. Do get voting on that. And thank you so much for the rallying cry from Danny B, from CH. More votes than likes. Come on, chasers. When you're voting, hit that like button as well. I'd love us to get to 100 likes this stream, guys. And yeah, we're not saying Taufik Jota's a bad buy at all. He is on form. We're just saying maybe go for a Man City player over him. But there we go. Let's move away from this question. We've still got a couple of big questions to get to. So I think we're going to have one question around chips, another one. Well, we've spoken about captaincy, but we're going to show your team as well. So stay tuned for Bigman's team. In terms of overall chip strategy, I'm thinking there's clear and away one obvious strategy the vast majority are looking at. Now, of course, there's 3 or 4 potential strategies, and we should remain open and flexible maybe for a few more weeks before we commit to one. But big man, I'm guessing like me, you're thinking you'll dead end your team to game week 29, which will be a blank game week of probably only 4 or 5 fixtures. You'll wildcard out of that in 30 or 31. And then the double game weeks of 34 and 7 will be either free hit one, bench boost the other, or vice versa, which means we'll likely be using our triple captain in 25 when City double and when Liverpool double. This is Ben Krellin's brilliant spreadsheet from Fantasy Football Hub. And that it feels like such an obvious chip strategy if you've got all your chips at play and if your team's set up similar to how ours are.
Johnny, I haven't necessarily locked myself into a strategy as yet. I still think there's plenty of information to come before I can decide on one specific chip strategy.
Yeah.
But I think triple captaincy is close to being locked if Haaland stays fit for 25. I don't think you'll get a better set of fixtures over the course of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 home fixtures, Chelsea at home, Brentford at home. I mean, surely you go Haaland in that case. I guess the other alternative that I see is give me 28 for Solanke, but that's far from nailed, and that's an outside possibility that Bournemouth get a double of Sheffield United and Luton at home and give me 28. There's a chance, but it's slim. Exactly, but we don't know that right now, and obviously Haaland is Haaland, and you've just got to blindly trust him when he's fit and firing. So triple captaincy is out of the way. Coming to the other chips, I think bench boost could be either 34 or 37 because they're likely to be the bigger doubles.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of that is sort of dependent on when I wildcard and when I free hit. So the 2 strategies that I'm looking at and sort of weighing up for my team, given how it's set up, are either free hit 29 or it's either free hit 34. Now, the argument for free hitting in 29 is that, there are very few fixtures. There are around 3-4 fixtures that are likely to happen, and it's going to be very difficult to put out a starting 11. I might be in a position, let's say if Chelsea win and progress in the FA Cup and Chelsea Arsenal is a blank, I might be in a position where I'm almost forced to free hitting in 29 simply because I'll have 3 or 4 players who are playing. The opposite argument to free hitting 29 is that the fixtures are of low upside, and that the teams that will double in 34 and the teams that double in 37 are likely to be different. So the teams that double in 37 are likely to be the better teams, the likes of City, Liverpool, the top teams, and the ones who double in 24 are likely to be the lesser teams. So you would need a free hit at that point, ideally, to navigate those weeks, because it will be very hard to sort of set yourself up on the second wildcard for navigating both game week 34 and 37, especially when you'll be bench boosting in 37 as well. That's sort of where I stand. I think a lot of this will come down to the result of Chelsea versus Aston Villa. Exactly. Yeah. If Chelsea win, then I don't think I'll have any other option but to free hit in 29. It'll be very hard for me to avoid the 29 free hit. It'll almost be unavoidable. But if Chelsea lose, then I think I might be able to force my way out of 29 and just get my way out of a dead end into 29 and then wildcard in 30. And I'd also like to mention at this point that the wildcard strategy is dependent on the free hit, because let's say if I free hit in 29, then I can possibly save the wild card till 33 and set myself up for 34 and 37 closer to the double game weeks. However, if I free hit in 34 or 37, and if I sort of dead end into 29, because it's basically all of the lesser teams that are playing in 29, I will have to wildcard in 30 so that I can get rid of all the crap and get all the better players in. So these are the two wildcard strategies, and they're heavily dependent on which way I go with the free hit.
Yeah, compelling argument there. And you're right, we shouldn't rule out a 29 free hit based on that Chelsea Villa game. Gucci, for example, for his team, he's like, can't see a world in which he doesn't free hit in 29. And that's absolutely fine. I guess for me, it's just free hitting in a blank game week in general comes often with lower upside, but we shouldn't judge a free hit on that 1 week alone. If you're committing to a free hit in 29, for example, think of the moves you won't have to make or will be making in 27 and 28. If you're dead ending, you're going to be selling some really good players for teams just with fixtures. So the strength of your team by committing to a free hit and the flexibility over a future wildcard by free hit in 29 is also strengthened. So it's not as simple as X versus Y, and you have to consider those chips not just on the week they use, but the weeks around them based on how else you're playing the game. We'll talk more about chips as the shows continue, but let's move back to this game week because, geez, guys, we got some big dilemmas. We got some big ones. Like the Haaland question is huge at the moment, but both of us think that it's unlikely he's going to start. And most Man City predictors are already publicly saying they would be surprised. Most Man City predictors are suggesting De Bruyne could go either way in terms of a start, 50-50. Big Man and I are both slightly more positive about that. Maybe we're 60% likely. But of course, if you buy De Bruyne, there's no guarantee he starts this week either. One thing's for sure, neither are going to get 90 minutes, we don't think.
For sure, very unlikely.
It's so unlikely, isn't it? But they don't need to, I guess, against Burnley. Captaincy this week, you guys have been voting. I can't remember the result of that poll, but I think the majority, 56% of you said you're going to captain your Man City asset. 23% are going with Richarlison, 8% Liverpool assets, and 11% other. We'll come away from the doubles and blanks then and chat a little bit more loosely around our teams. Big Man, shall we show your team? Then we'll have a look at my team, and then we'll perhaps answer some questions and go back to the news of the game week so far. And by then, I expect Jurgen Klopp would have spoken as well. He's due in his press conference at the moment, so we'll keep you up to date with his comments. Should he mention a Salah or a Trent, who knows?
I think with my team, you can see my team. The graphic is there for you to see. I think the starting 11 is more or less sorted. I will be playing Saliba ahead of Palmer, and Palmer will be my first sub ahead of Gordon because I know it is a bit of a shock, but
I'm going to have to try and do a Palmer sell to you, mate.
It's something I made peace with. I'm
really
very. I think I'm just going to double down on it and be stubborn because I've looked at the odds, and Arsenal's clean sheet odds are significantly better than the odds of either Palmer or Gordon returning. I know Palmer is in form; he could play number 9.
He could get 4 returns. Gabriel can't get 4 clean sheets.
I think Palmer might sub in for Gabriel anyway, right? That's the thing.
I think Gabriel's starting.
You think he's starting? Are you convinced he was?
Have you seen the picture? I tweeted.
I have. I
definitely
have.
Gabriel.
Are you sure it's Gabriel and not the other 18-year-old kid? The other people were talking about in response to your tweet.
So I did 2 photos. Number 1 was the 18-year-old, and as I suspected, he was too small to be Gabriel. The wrong boots. But the Saka photo with a blurred background. I went through all 22 or 21 photos on the Arsenal website. They clearly don't want the players Arteta has said are doubtful in shot. So it's a proper out of focus in the background. But honestly, the hairline, the hair, the goatee, the skin tone, the height, the posture, everything is Gabriel.
Yeah, it looks
he
like
trained yesterday, which means he traveled, which means he's going to start.
I mean, I'll just play the double Arsenal defense over Palmer and Gordon. I know the upside isn't as big, but I just don't think Gordon and Palmer will get more than 1 return, even if they do. It's going to be a low upside fixture, especially Gordon. I mean, his stats at home are much better than away, and I can see a Villa win tonight. Yeah. So that's what I've chosen. I'm not entirely confident on the captaincy choice. I could switch to Richarlison, and Salah will go for Foden. That's something that
You're pretty locked on
made my mind up. I'm locked on that. I think the only thing that's going to change over here is captaincy.
For Haaland next week, to go Haaland for anyone, pretty much.
Haaland for Alvarez, yeah.
Could you, if you wanted to sell Solanke, sell Solanke? The 0.2 difference wouldn't make a difference. Salah to Foden
No,
leaves you enough flexibility.
yes, I can sell Solanke if need be, but I don't think I'll be selling
It's
Solanke
unlikely.
ahead of Alvarez. Yeah, because if
Yeah.
Haaland is back, I don't want Alvarez playing the number 8.
Yeah. Okay.
As ever.
I like that. I think your move this week's sensible. I completely get the benchings for Palmer and Gordon. For me, I would be benching Gordon, but Palmer, knowing he'll be playing number 9, I think he will. Like Brozier's been poor. Palmer number 9 we've seen twice, and he blanked in both. Neither were Premier League games. Borough first leg and Aston Villa in the FA Cup on Friday night, and I was there watching him live. And he's not an number 9 which plays a false 9, and you're like, oh, he's out of his depth there and he's isolated. As involved as Cole Palmer ever is, just in a slightly more advanced position and big chances galore. He should have had 2 against Borough. He should have had 2 against Villa. I think he's going to get a chance or 2 against Liverpool. But of course, Arsenal clean sheet odds are going to be fairly decent. You have to start a Trent. You have to start a Pedro Porro. So it's a really tough one, that for you. And as you say, there is a chance Gabriel doesn't start.
To be very honest, I'm not entirely, confident of an Arsenal clean sheet. I just think the chances of a return there are better than the chances of a return for Palmer, which is why I'm going this way.
That's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. I think it's brave though. It's brave, and I like FPL managers that aren't afford to bench a player that's like really high EO or bench a player that's flavour of the month. I'm going to be faced with a real dilemma with my team if I sell Salah this week. For the next 3 weeks, I'm going to have benching dilemmas, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, the thing with Johnny is generally I tend to play the attackers over the defenders when it's a 50-50 call, but I genuinely do think that the difference in the probability of an Arsenal clean sheet and the probability of a Gordon or a Palmer return is significant enough to avoid going with the normal principle of play the attacker over a defender whenever in doubt. So that's what I'm just thinking. I could be wrong. I could end up with egg on my face if Palmer gets a penalty, if Saliba ends up scoring an own goal. But I mean, these things happen in FPL. It's fine.
There were managers that benched Palmer a few weeks back. Do you remember, for the 18-pointer against Luton? There was quite a few on FPL Twitter that benched him that
There
week.
were a lot. There were a lot, exactly. And this is the thing which you get with benching dilemmas. It's fine. It's fine having a strong squad. Over the long run, it does pay off.
Yeah. And goalkeepers, you've got the popular combo. I've got these 2. You're pretty fixed on Areola. There's no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Areola served me well in recent weeks. I think he deserves another go.
Yeah, I'm the same there. And I backed Watkins to score this week, actually, at home to Newcastle. Let's see. So, yeah, you're pretty set. It's going to be Foden for Salah. And then captaincy's your big decision. Obviously, if we get leaks if we were to get a leak that De Bruyne starts, big man, would you go, would you be tempted to go Salah to De Bruyne, or are you pretty fixed on Foden now?
I'm fixed on Foden simply because I'm not confident that De Bruyne starts 2 in a row, and because I want Foden for his price. I would rather have him than De Bruyne for the double. For me, it's a question of triple up on City attack or go with Walker. So I'll assess closer to, let's say, give me 24, 25, whether I want Walker in defense or whether I want to triple up on the attack and get KDB in for, let's say one of my midfielders. But for now, I don't want to make that decision, and I just think Foden could be worth keeping for the weeks to come.
Yeah,
it just makes too much sense for my team. And the other thing which I forgot to mention is that if I get De Bruyne for Salah, I'll have to take a hit for Haaland next week. I can't go Alvarez to Haaland in one move, which is very crucial. So I just have to buy Foden, to be very honest, because I can just easily get to Haaland from Alvarez in one move.
Guys, make sure you are leaving enough in the bank this week for Haaland in one move, if you can, because we're all going to be scrambling around for Haaland versus Brentford on that Monday night. Deadline will be next Saturday. Okay, cool. Nice one, big man. We'll have a quick look back at your team in 10 minutes' time for those joining late, but we'll just show my team to compare it. You speak so well about maybe waiting on deciding if you go triple City attack and maybe holding off. So then we do have the option of going with a Walker. And for my team, that would make sense. Like, I don't have the strength in depth at the back. My defender 4 is Lascelles and defender 5 is Taylor. I should absolutely be buying Kyle Walker probably this week and going 2 City attackers, Kyle Walker at the back. Oh, that's Dean's team. As I say, Dean has got Walker. but I'm pretty sure I'm going to go against that. And because I don't own Trent, I'm in a luxury position where I've got a huge amount of money. I can buy De Bruyne this week for Salah and still have enough to get to Haaland next week by selling any of my forwards in a straight swap for Haaland. So I see this as an opportunity for me to be a little bit different because I don't have Trent, to have Haaland and De Bruyne and Foden and go triple City attack, not for the double game week, but from now, including hopefully till the double game week. Now, sure, there are minutes. Gabriel Jesus, by the way, I do recognise is pictured instead of Gabriel. Good spot there, guys. Gabriel Jesus can play a variety of roles, but right centre back isn't his one. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Salah to De Bruyne, I think, mate. But I don't know if I'm waiting on a leak, or I don't know if I'm going to bottle it and just roll the transfer. But if I make a move this week, it will be Salah to De Bruyne, which gives me a benching headache. I can't bench Cole Palmer for the reasons I stated. I think I'll be benching Solanke or Gross. I think Pascal Gross. What do you reckon to all of that?
Gianni, what would be your transfer, let's say, if we get a leak that Gabriel isn't playing?
Walker. Lascelles to Walker.
Lascelles to Walker.
Yeah.
I see. Then you're sort of making your bed with no De Bruyne for double game week 25.
Yeah, I know, which is painful, but I would have...
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Yeah. I think it could be the play, to be very honest. If you ask me right now, which would be the optimal 3 city to get, for me, it would be Foden, Haaland, Walker. That's what I would say with the information we have available right now. Yeah. But obviously, it could change. And as you've mentioned, it's better to have that flexibility. So I hope for your sake, Gabriel is playing, because you don't really want to be making a transfer just so that you could, just so that you could bench a player you want to have in the long run. But let's see. Yeah. Let's see where we end up. Are you set on Areola over Dubravka as well?
Yeah, I'm setting goal. I wondered if it would be a discussion, but I think both of us like that home advantage, and West Ham at home, usually pretty solid. I guess the big question for me is, that transfer, but also is which one to bench out of Pascal Gross, who played very deep, like CDM in the FA Cup.
He's going to get a penalty.
Honestly, yeah, with João Pedro not on the pitch or something.
I'm very jealous of the Darwin pick. I can see points this week. I can see big points this week, and it sort of pains me to see it because I
you had him.
I had him and I sold him just before he was about to hit that spell
to
of
Alvarez,
points.
Right?
To Alvarez, yeah. In our review show last week, I did mention that move single-handedly cost me in excess of 20 points.
Wow.
I haven't exactly calculated the exact number of points because I know the pain would be too much for me to take, but it's minimum 20 points in my head. So I'm not going to calculate exactly how badly it has gone. I mean, that's why a part of me is hoping that I can get some sort of reward with Alvarez this week, but I'm not really sure whether that will happen. It's sort of looking ropey.
Yeah, guys, do hit that like button. It'd be amazing if we get to, I don't know, let's get to 150 likes by the end of the stream. Support the show by hitting the button, and of course, subscribe if you're new around here. Loads of new viewers. When you subscribe, hit that notification bell as well. Big man, would you bench Pascal Gross or Solanke? I'm not going to even give you the option of Palmer because I know we will disagree because I'm a biased Chelsea fan. But would you bench Pascal Gross or Solanke?
I would bench Palmer, but let's say if you give me the option, I would bench Gross. Yeah, simply because the reasons you mentioned, playing deeper, and I mean Solanke has more routes to points. He's playing as a striker, man. You can't bench Solanke in this form. Bournemouth are a decent team. I don't know. I won't bench Solanke even with my own team. In the entire conversation, I did not even bring Solanke up even once because he's a near uncertainty to start for me personally.
That's fair. I regret buying Pascal Gross. When I look at the next couple of weeks, I'm probably going to bench him for the next couple. And like I had one game out of him on Monday night where he blanked, and I should have probably occupied that spot with a cheaper player and had more money. I did consider going Garnacho, for example. Like I feel like he's going to become just a bench option, and actually will probably end up being Jota in 24. He'll be on my bench until then. So a bit of a bad move there by me last week. But
Gianni, what is your sort of what has changed with Gross? Have you sort of noticed? What is your thinking? What is your assessment? Has there been a tactical change?
Yeah. So before, when I bought him, the last 3-4 games he played in a variety of roles, including on the right side of a front three. He actually even played that role once. But he played in a midfield three and usually the most advanced. Obviously, we'd seen him earlier this season at right back. At the weekend just gone, he played in a midfield two with Gilmour, which is the same position he played on the Monday night Premier League game. But on the Monday night Premier League game, Gilmour sat more and Gross was more advanced. In the FA Cup, where City went and scored 5 goals, Pascal Gross was the deeper of the two in the midfield two. So not only is he playing central mid, he's playing deeper than the other central mid. His average position map, now clearly he didn't play centre back, was very close to the centre backs. Like, this is someone that ain't going to get open play goal involvements in that position. Of course, he does come with set piece threat. And that is the beauty of Pascal Gross. And that's why his underlying numbers are often so good. But if he continues to play in a midfield two, I don't expect much. But he's Mr. Versatile. He pops up in the 10. He pops up on the right. Even at right back, the right back at Brighton, Hinsselwood at the moment, brilliant average position, gets loads of freedom. So the worst position for Pascal Gross at the moment is playing in the midfield two, and that's where he is, which turns me away from him.
Interesting.
Yeah. I did a lot of research on the Brighton positioning.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at something similar with your Gross to Jota move. I might do that with Gordon. Get a couple of good fixtures from Gordon out of the way and then sell him, because Gordon has Luton at home next week, and then he's sort of sellable after that.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. So cool. That's my last minute dilemmas. I will be confirming my last minute dilemmas. I'm going to do a deadline stream if I've got any energy left today on my channel. So do tune in for that. And I'll be probably panicking with 5 minutes to go going, have we got a leak? Do I react to Gabriel, Kevin De Bruyne or Haaland news? With regards to leaks, big man, I don't think we should expect much with Man City, if anything at all. They play Wednesday night, but Arsenal should probably hear about Gabriel, right? Arsenal is a team we get leaks for usually.
I hope we do, but I won't be confident on it because in recent times we haven't had leaks from Arsenal.
Oh, so like the Saka one a few months ago, we didn't actually get, did we? Do you remember? Was it Saka?
Yeah, he
travelled to Bournemouth and.
Yes, it was leaked that he was in the hotel, and someone took a photo in the hotel of him being there, spotted in Bournemouth. So these are the kind of things we're sort of hoping for, but I sort of won't hold my breath waiting for a Gabriel leak, especially.
And Man City, do you reckon we'll get anything?
I doubt it. Simply because the game is, so far ahead of the deadline. It's more than 24 hours, so I'm not really sure whether we'll hear anything over there.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Guys, we're going to do questions now. We've still got 10 minutes left of the show. We're going to go quick fire. We're going to alternate. So get your questions in. We'll come off my team. We'll go full screen on us answering alternate questions. We'll try and give 20-second answers or 10-second answers to get through as many as we can. To thank you all for watching. Over 450 of you in the house. Likes and subscribes, guys. Very, very welcome. First question's from Sean, big man. You go for it.
Is it worth getting Haaland for -4? Yeah, I would wait till the next week, personally.
Yeah, I think I'll be doing that too. Good question, Sean. Next up, we've got Will. Is there any chance Chukwuemeka gets regular minutes? Poch loves Chukwuemeka. Looked really good in the warm-up on Friday night. I was checking him out. I don't think he'll be a regular starter, though. His price point is obviously amazing. And if we see a start, then he'll be in a lot of wildcard teams just as an enabler.
Hey, Bakirjani, Konsa to City defender or just roll? I think this depends on your plan going forward as well. If you're planning on buying Walker for Konsa in the weeks to come anyway, then I would make the transfer. But for my own team, for example, I'm looking at Porro to Walker, for example, in the weeks to come. The good thing about Konsa is that he has Sheffield United away next week, and then he has Burnley at home in game week 26, which is the week where a lot of people are blanking, the Spurs guys, the Chelsea guys, and the Liverpool guys as well. So you'll need your bench in 26, which is why I would ideally want to hold on to Konsa, and I would sort of plan around getting a City defender for someone later before game week 24 or 25.
I like that. Has Boeing cap? I don't hate it this week, Bowen captaincy. I do just think I would go to a team I can trust to score goals, and there is a chance West Ham score 0 against Bournemouth. I don't think there's a chance City blank. Just can't see it. I don't hate it, Jason.
Yeah, Jani, there's just a quote from Klopp on Salah, which I'd like to mention. So Klopp is saying Mo is not ready for this game or for the next game. He's injured, and a muscle injury takes time. You need to understand it could have been much worse.
Ooh. So not this game or the next game. Well, that's Chelsea and
Yes.
Arsenal. But we could be
It's,
thinking Burnley game week 24.
I mean, it's difficult to say. He's injured. A muscle injury takes time. It could have been much worse. This is the exact quote.
I mean, when Klopp says this game or next game, you're like, is he therefore saying the game after he's fit? Or is he just saying, not this game, not the next game, it's going to be out for a while?
It's very difficult to sort of deduce from what he said, because
might need to
it could
see the
easily
video
mean that
clip.
he's not. Yeah, I mean, it could easily mean that he's not back for a while. It could easily mean that he actually means not for this game and the next game. He might be back up after it.
Yeah, interesting. I think knowing it's a muscle injury, knowing it's hamstrings, knowing Jota and Darwin are playing so well and are such better value, arguably, I think I'm still happy selling off the back of that quote. But yeah, interesting. Branthwaite or Moreno. Keeps updated, big man, if you see anything else. Branthwaite or Moreno,
Sure.
I would go, look, Luca Dean could still come in. I don't know if Moreno's absolutely nailed. I don't know if we class him as a rotation risk. So if you go into Aston Villa, I still don't think it's absolutely safe to go Moreno. Branthwaite's so cheap. Good long-term hold.
Okay, next question is Captain Foden or Richarlison? I think I would go with Richarlison, but I'm not entirely convinced on this. So I would honestly say go with your gut.
Yeah, I can't answer that one either. It's a toss of a coin, that. Who would you bench for Sean says out of Nkunku and Gordon? Nkunku won't start. Gordon will. So you could get Nkunku minutes, but I'd be benching Nkunku.
Next question is from Patrick. Eze or Elise? Probably Eze, because Elise is just back from injury, and generally I want to pick players who've played for a more sustained period of time. So I'd probably go Eze. Penalties as well. And he takes a greater share of the set pieces too. So Eze for me.
Yeah, I think I like that. Good question, Patrick. We get those a lot, and Palace fixtures are amazing. Walker or a Stupinan? Oh, I just got a Stupinan 8 last week. He played wing back for Brighton finally at the weekend and looks so good. He's been playing left centre back, but still getting forward. With the double in mind, I'd still go Walker though.
Exactly. I think the week to buy a Stupinan is sort of gone.
Yeah.
You reckon João Pedro is a solid option over Richarlison for captain this week? I like João Pedro, to be very honest, but I think Richarlison is clear ahead of him. I definitely prefer Richarlison over Pedro.
Battle of the former Watford frontmen, Brazilian frontmen. Is Ake an option around the Walker? Yeah, Ake and Gvardiol are both looking pretty good for starts at the minute, but Akanji is back, Stones is back. I would just go for Walker on the guarantee of minutes. He started every Premier League game. In fact, I think he's played 90 in every Premier League game.
Okay, the next question is Gross or Gabriel to start. It's very tough.
Well, they both play at the
back. That's true. It's tough. I would probably say Gabriel, but I'm not confident, to be very honest.
What were the clean sheet odds on Arsenal? You said they're pretty good.
45%.
Wow. I was going to guess mid-30s. So, okay, good. Siraj,
will Haaland start? We don't think so. We don't think so.
Yeah, we don't think so.
We're only guessing.
Asim, play 2, bench 1. Oh, I would be benching Pascal Gross. I've got all 3 of those, and I will be benching Gross. Thanks, Asim.
The next question is from... Waiting.
There is loads in the chat as well, guys. Loving all your questions. Here we go.
Elise is asking, everyone overlooking Bowen for captain is the one this week. I'm top 10K. Many congratulations on your phenomenal rank. Yeah, I mean, Bowen could do well easily. But it's just that, as Jani mentioned earlier, West Ham are not exactly a team to trust. They're a dodgy team generally, and you don't really know what to expect from them, right? very recently. They sort of struggled against Sheffield United as well, and before that, Brighton sort of rolled them over. So I'm not entirely sure what to expect from Bowen.
5.1 defender and below. Well, that is a Stupidan's price point, so I'd probably just go there. That's where I went last week, Sebastian. Good question. Next up.
CH is asking, will Watkins score? Yes, I think he will. I think Villa will win against Newcastle. I think if I was to predict the game, I would probably call it 3-1, maybe 2-0. I can see Villa doing well, and I obviously fancy Watkins to be involved.
Come on, Ollie Watkins. We need this. Guys, thank you so much for all your questions. Loads of you have tuned in. If you're tuning in for the first time today, honestly, remember the name, Chasing Green Arrows. We stream 3 times a week. Me and Big Man usually stream on a Wednesday. It's always around this sort of time.
Please like and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, we love all those likes and subscribes, guys. We've been getting loads today. Guys, we'll get Big Man's final thoughts with his team in just a sec. My decisions are pretty much made, other than I'm benching Pascal Gross, I'm captaining Foden. Do I buy De Bruyne for Salah or roll the transfer is my big question mark. I think I'm going to be buying De Bruyne though. And guys, I'll be locking in my decisions on my channel later. If you fancy a deadline stream today, come to the Gianni Batici YouTube show. I'll be going live in a couple of hours. Big Man, your final decisions?
Captaincy. That's it.
No. Nice. You're buying Foden for Salah and you'll be captaining Foden, Alvarez or Richarlison. 3-horse race.
Exactly.
You're not ruling any of those 3 out yet, are you?
I think Foden is sort of unlikely when I look at the 3. But you never know, because I so desperately want a City captain, I might go there. So I'm not exactly ruling him out, but as it stands, Alvarez and Richarlison are fairly neck and neck, and Foden is just a wee bit behind.
If I see you captain Foden, then he goes and scores a hat trick. I'm gonna be like, you're the luckiest guy ever. I'll be clipping that one for Twitter, mate. Oh, good stuff, guys. Thank you so much. Good to see so many familiar faces and some new ones too. But for now, he's been Big Man. I've been Gianni, and we've been chasing.
Thank you, Gianni.
See you guys. Yeah, you too.